Alright, so come Tinks Invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional development for today's items only. The investment I'm going to talk today would be Ethereum ticker ETH. First, I want to say happy Monday, everybody. We're a great weekend, by the way. Respect to recording time of 9:12 a.m. on the Eastern Time. Ethereum can trade $3,361, up about 0.69% so far. Respect to the consecutive volatile days that we've been experiencing so far ever since the last weekend, the Christine Lagarde news on her depictions on crypto assets calling a suspicious warning. Subsequent to that, we had the FOMC meeting, hearing some, foreshadow with respect to the crypto bill that Don Byers and obviously Jerome Powell, collectively with Gary Gensler from the SEC and Janet Yellen on working on the stablecoin to stabilize and obviously, enforce some compliance and regulatory structure onto cryptocurrencies, and also on top of the tapering plan that we've been, looking for a confirmatory signal as to when are we going to be tapering. It seems like based on depictions from Jerome, it's non-confirmatory yet, but he's going to tell us more about it by the next FOMC meeting in November. And then subsequent to that with the evergreen news from China, which we've seen, the Hong Kong market, the stock market obviously, has tanked by close to about 4.5% on that specific date. And that had some direct correlation on dragging the market to go down. And then subsequent to that, we heard from, with respect to the China crackdown news, which is just subsequent news of, negative news coming from China, knowing the fact that they have been, relatively, enforcing some regulatory pressure onto crypto mining activities with respect to obviously the energy burns that subsequently have the direct correlations to air pollutions and obviously, just environmental efficacy in general. Them mandatorily closing down or suspending with indefinite time frame of 10,000 crypto mines in China, and obviously with that affectation drives significant sell-off across the market. I believe on that specific day, Ethereum was down about 11.5%, while Bitcoin was down about 8.9% respectively, and on the altcoin was even more severe, down about like 14 to 13. Even at one point, 15%, which we have seen across the spectrum. And then the opposite side of the spectrum happened on the 1st of October, which is not that long ago, a couple of days ago. Jerome Powell basically came out with a depiction saying that he has no intention, as a representative of U.S. central bank, to ban or, suspend crypto assets. But regulatory enforcement or regulatory type of frame of reference is still something that's going to be in play going forward as they're cultivating the the crypto bill and obviously with the stablecoin initiatives, which if you think about it, is something we appreciate because with the compliance issues and the cyber attack issues that we've been hearing so far, just on the recent news, Coinbase was did say in the news that 6,000 accounts has been hacked, and also on the Binance side of the world as well, people just losing their accounts because of hackers, right? And that's not something we appreciate. We don't want people to lose their money without understanding where it is or how they can even recuperate. These are people's hard-earned money, right? So now let's take a look at the news on the recent front, right? On Ethereum news specifically. I've been keeping up on the news ever since I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning. I went to the gym, so on my way to the gym I was reading up the news. On my way back to the gym I was also reading up the news. The first one's coming from CoinDesk 6 hours ago, talking about Polygon flips Ethereum on active users address. So it seems like with respect to Polygon, it seems like it's slowly catching up with the active user addresses. Seems like the growth in percentage-wise is spiking in comparisons to the Ethereum adoptions in a comparable time frame. So is it adjusted? It is an adjusted type of comparison. So we read it with a grain of salt. But is it really something that is the true representation? I would say Polygon is still relatively early, right, in comparisons to Ethereum. Knowing the fact that both are still at the relatively early innings of their cultivation. So good to know, but is it something substantive? I would say the news is just more of a media hype on pumping Polygon, if you may, right? And then next one, let's talk about Bazinga 12 hours ago. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin stronger over the weekend, and actually shoots to a new all-time high as bears hibernate ahead of the winter. So basically, they're talking about the volatility that we experienced this weekend, right? I know we were spiking slightly, but not like not like surging enormously like a rally, but rather we're able to sustain at the ideal level of dollar cost average, right, at the 3,450 for Ethereum respectively. And today, as we woke up this morning, I think during the midnight, we hover back down to the next level of 3,350, which is technically the level that we at right now. So we are sustaining some, obviously, supply and demand dynamic pressure onto the current level right now. But we have to take a look at the technicals to see the momentums, how it's going to be trending going forward, right? And then the next one is talk about the butterfly effect. Here's the crazy story of how the World of Warcraft led to the creation of Ethereum. So this is basically talking about, Vitalik Buterin. He's a gamer and historically has been a gamer. And with his co-founders, they were thinking of an idea. And I guess, after playing World of Warcraft for a while, they had that aha moment that subsequently led to the creation of Ethereum as they further innovate and refine. So it's interesting to know is a more of a historical type of affectation that I'm learning for the first time as well. So the next one is talking about Bazinga. This is something we have already mentioned during this weekend. Is with respect to institutional activities on the favor on the Grayscale Ethereum Trust over Bitcoin Trust. And this is something that we've heard from JP Morgan about a month ago with their institutional clients letter that they sent out to the investors on basically their clients are requesting to shift their holdings on both the equity side of the house and Bitcoin side of the house and other coins directly to Ethereum. So it's something that we are that's interesting. We're seeing some favoritism towards Ethereum, which is something we appreciate, right? So I think that's pretty much it on the news front. Let's take a look at the technicals now. So you can see that with respect to the days of volatility that we've already talked about chronologically. Now we are hovering around the level of 3,350. And apologies for the lawnmower next to me. This guy's killing me right now. But hopefully, I'll fix the sounds afterwards to make sure that it's relatively muted. But apologies for the noise in the background. I don't film in the studio. I just film in my bedroom, unfortunately. My humble little home studio, if you may. So right now we're at the 55 out of 70. We are forming, we just formed a golden cross recently, which is the reason why we, spur so much so far. However, we are slowly forming a cross section, curving downward at the moment. We are at the resistance level right now. So in the perfect world, we'll just be oscillating on a sideways fashion between the 3,150 and the current level and bounce up and down like the ping pong ball, right? And by then, the RSI will be depleted. And then we will form a new platform from here. We ideally want that, but we don't know if this was incentivized by the whales or by the public investors to sell us back down to the $3,000 level, right? Ultimately, we are in the cup, right? However, we also have to understand that this is also a head and shoulder. So the cup and handle is not fully confirmed yet, to be honest with you. This is still a head and shoulder pattern, which technically is still negative. So overall, it's still bearish because of the net canceled out affectation and the overall macro chart, right? So this is still a bearish chart. So to risk mitigate or dollar cost average on a logical level will be the $3,150 level to first dollar cost average at and wait until the $3,000 or the 2,750 or anywhere between the 2,750 and 2,450, right? Because the bearishness is still in play despite the early signs of a cup and handle. But we still have to understand the macro overall, and we are still kind of overbought on the overall level, right? So with respect to Bitcoin, let's take a look at it real quick. We are relatively overbought right now with the 60 out of 70. We are slowly curving down at the moment. We have a relatively large sleep up to get next to the 50K and then the 53K. So it depends on the momentum on the news front to see if there's any specific news that's driving this catalyst going forward. But based on what we know so far, the FOMC meeting is still kind of a month out, right? And I don't know if there's any specific news that's coming out, to drive more volatility into crypto on a positive side of the spectrum, right? So I think the likelihood of actually going back down would be more likely than the positive because of the positive news we've been having so far. This could be relatively short-lived because of the fact that we're overbought at the moment right now, right? So again, the 43, the 40, 37, 34. 34 will be, again, you being greedy if you are chasing that level, right? So Dogecoin, we are bullish, obviously, for the right reason, because we just formed a golden cross and we were at the relatively, not the most overbought level per our technical analysis that I've been talking about for days now, right? So I think the next level that we will ideally leap up to keep going would be the 24 and then the 25 cents ideally. But then after that, we have a long way to go up to basically 30 cents. So is that likely that we will get there? I think not. I think the highest level we could potentially get to would be the 25, which we still have some room to go up to, and by then we'll be overbought at the 70. Cardano, we're up about 0.93%. Right now, we're forming a golden cross, so I think a spur is coming, and the next level should technically leap up to the $2.35 or 37 cents based on the technicals, and then kind of hover from there because of the fact that we are still at the 46, so it's like a neutral level, not too overbought, not too oversold either. Solana is selling off because we are running with hot air right now. At the same time, we're highly overbought with 62 out of 70. So again, right, per our technical analysis, we said we will potentially get up to 200. I think that's still likely because of the fact that we just formed a golden cross. However, we are at the 63, so this could potentially be relatively short-lived. But we've seen the extremely, euphoria before. So I think possibly we could get up to the 200 or then 197, 198, and then sell back down from here. XRP down about 3% right now. So at this moment, we're at the 52 out of 70. We are hovering around the $1.01, right? We got to the 110 during this weekend. If you could see here, we did 109 to be more specific, right? We are still, incurring the golden cross, but with respect to the curvature, we are already seeing the ball kind of flowing back down. I think the apex has already been formed when we're at the 110. So I think this is going to be relatively short-lived. So I think ideally we will go back to the $1.01, and ideally go back down to the 93 and 88 cents as we deplete the RSI. So with respect to the market cycle, we're still in the early inning of the depression stage. So this is, something we have to be mindful of, that it's not going to be a flat line. It's going to oscillate on a sideways fashion, right? So with respect to the price level to dollar cost average at 3,150, 2,750, 2,450 for Ethereum specifically. But if you bought it at 4,000, just hold it for long term, because the long term game is always the best game with the safest in terms of logics, in terms of like not timing the market, and in terms of not having to pay short-term capital gains tax. Right, so I really appreciate you for dropping by. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and stay tuned for next come out. Take care.